Hello, students. Good morning, all of you. Today, I, Rabindra Mohan Mishra from Sri Jagdamba Sanskrit College, Batho, am taking the class of Shastri first. Today, we see a slumber did my spirit seal. A slumber did my spirit seal is the greatest of the Lucy poems composed by William Wordsworth. In the first line, he refers to a slumber which sealed his spirit. Wordsworth refers to sleep and slumber when he is thinking of something quite different to the normal meaning of these terms. At times, he seems to mean a spiritual peace, but here equally he seems to mean an unawareness, and this is reinforced by the second line I had no human fears. In the second stanza, the poet shows how Lucy was touched by time and death and now lacks motion and force, both ideas associated with positive human action. Now she neither hears nor sees. All those special marks of humanity are gone. That is, Lucy has been absorbed into nature. She is now one with the rocks, stones, and trees, and part of the greater pattern of the universe. In this poem, the girl Lucy has reached the farthest point of disembodiment. She is not even a violet or a star. She is nothing as tangible or visible, even as those two inhuman objects. The poem does not say that she had died. There is no factual statement of the kind. She is defined wholly by negatives. That is, we do not know who she was or what she was, only that she is no longer. She is nothing. She sees nothing. She hears nothing. She cannot herself move. She is beyond time, unchangeable, eternal. And yet, at the same time, she does move. She is not motionless. She moves with the movement of the whole world as it turns in a space, and this movement she almost seems to feel. Certainly, the poet feels it for her. The poem does not even say that she is in grief, though this is what one tends to assume. Perhaps she, like the poet, is in a trance, for he too is in a slumber carried beyond ordinary human fears. She has no regret, no anxieties, and he feels himself turning slowly as though he has lost his own strength and his own right to action, as though he has become a rock or a stone or a tree. We do not feel that the poet and Lucy are as dead as stones. The effect of the poem is to make us feel that stones and trees are alive and that the daily turning of the earth is a positive, living movement, not a mere mechanical rotation. This highly complex notion, characteristic of Wordsworth's attitude to the natural world, is expressed with an amazing power and with a complete absence of any philosophical or intellectual argument. The poem has perfect unity. Every word in it is extremely simple and indeed common. The combination of sound and sense is a sign of the greatest poetry. The genesis of these poems has still remained a mystery. We do not know who this Lucy Gray was. The question of whether Lucy Gray was a real girl or she was the creation of the poet's fancy. This poem is an elegy on Lucy. In this poem, he speaks about the executive charm, beauty, vitality, and gaiety of Lucy, who was nature's darling. Wordsworth, whether genuinely or imaginatively, loved this girl very much. She was the source of great joy and inspiration to the poet, and it is through Lucy that he makes nature speak to herself. The poet says that when Lucy was living, she was so lovely, fresh, and full of vitality that he could never for a moment think that she will ever die. Her personality used to work like a drug on the poet's mind, and the girl used to appear to him immortal. Her charm and loveliness was enough to divide him of his reason. Similarly, Lucy seemed a thing. Normally, we use the word thing to describe an inanimate object, but here it is used to describe so animate an object that it is immune to the touch of the earthly years. It cannot die since it will not grow old. Lucy has indeed become a thing of no motion, no force, subtly than the two stanzas, though dealing with two sharply contrasted ideas, the first with the intense kind of love and the second with death, are nevertheless linked through the diction of the first stanza, which foreshadow on a secondary level the content of the second stanza. A slumber or sleep or a state of unawareness, shield of the poet's spirit, kept him, in other words, from a normal awareness of realities of life. In this state of unawareness, he had no human fears. The poet then had none of the fears that human beings have about the possible death of their lived ones. He had no human fears, but the line also means that he had no fears about his beloved as a human being. The word human being ambiguously used in the second line. The effort of ambiguity is twofold. Firstly, the poets, not having any of the fears that human beings normally have, made his love impressively enveloping and all engrossing. And secondly, the poets, having no fears for his beloved as a human being, enable us to see her as the poet sees her, as a being who transcends the ravages of time, a being so perfect that the poet need have no fear for her. But in the second stanza, Lucy is dead. She has no motion and no force. She does not hear, nor does she see. She has become an inanimate part of the earth as she is rolled around with rocks, stones, and trees in the daily revolution of the earth. The word slumber has the connotation of a light, pleasant sleep. It differs from sleep in that its very light removes any suggestion to death with which sleep is often enough equated. The poet had said that a sleep sealed his spirit. The suggestion of death might have been too powerful to counteract in subsequent lines. His spirit, his consciousness of reality, however, is sealed or shut off from beauty, from reality, by a light and pleasant sleep in which he has no human fears. In short, we conclude that the poem possesses an absolute simplicity of tone, a style, rhythm, and rhyme. The diction is simple except for the word tunnel, which contrasts with those around it and helps to lay a stress on the heavy, blow like rhythm of the final line, where both the finality of the poet's loss and the totality of Lucy's absorption are reinforced by the rhyme.